So let's discuss market equilibrium. So we're going to merge supply and demand here to determine the price. Or anyone here knows how the price in the market is being determined? Is it the seller or is it the buyer? It's actually the interaction between the supply and demand. Because if the seller will only sell or let's say set the price on a certain, let's say 10, and what if there are no takers? What if there are no buyers? Okay? So the supplier will also consider the demand in the market before setting the price. Okay, in this case, let's look at the example. If you look at row number 2 here, we have the price. And as the price increases from 1 to 5, you look at your quantity supply, it also increases because as we go back to the law of supply, quantity supply increases as price increases. To take advantage of the price, they're going to gain more in this case. They're going to have an increased net profit. But if you look at the quantity demanded, when the price is 1, the quantity demanded is so high. But as the price increases, the demand is also decreasing. If you look at this one, it's decreasing by 200 for every peso of price increase. Okay? So, how do we determine market equilibrium in this example? So, let's try to plot this in the graph. So, let's start with QD here and P. Okay? So, if the price is 1, your QD is 1,000. So, let's put some numbers here. So, for the Q, we have 200, 400, 600, 800, and 1,000. For the P, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 P QD is 1,000. Where is that? Here. When P is 2, it's 800. So here. 600, you have your 3 here. And when the price is 4, your demand is 400. And lastly, when your price is 5, your quantity demanded is only 200. So we're going to connect that to have our demand curve. So this is your D. And next, we are going to draw or to plot your supply. So let's draw your supply curve. So when the price is 1, seller would offer 200. So where is that here? And when the price is 2, the seller will offer 400. And the seller will offer 600 and the price is 3 here. And 800 and the price is 4. And 1,000 when the price is 5. So let's connect that one. So you have your supply curve. Question. What is the equilibrium point here? It is the point where quantity supplied and the quantity demanded met. So, this is the point where S intersects with D. So, meaning to say, this is the equilibrium point. So, if I were to ask you about the equilibrium price, what would be the answer? Yes, it is 3. The 3 now is the equilibrium price. It is the price wherein the sellers and the buyers agree on a certain price so that transaction will occur. Okay? Because later on you will know what will happen if the seller will sell or will set the price higher than 3, and what will happen if the seller sets the price lower than 3. Alright, if you look at this one, you also have your equilibrium quantity. Both the sellers and the buyers agree on 600 units at the price of 3. Okay, the question here is this. What will happen if the seller sets the price at 4, higher than 3, which is the equilibrium price? So, let's take this point here. The seller will increase the price from 3 to 4. Now, note that the price has increased by 1 peso. But look what happened to your quantity demanded. Here, it decreases by 200. So from 600 to 400. Supposedly, it's good for the seller because the price is high. So that's why the seller is willing to sell 800. Here, point here. Now, here's the catch. The seller is selling 800, but the buyer will only buy 400. The consumers will only consume 400 units. So there is a gap of 400. What do you call this gap? Surplus. Yes. So we say that when QS is greater than QD, there will be surplus. Yes? So that's why surplus products are cheaper. Right. Now what if the seller will sell, or the producers will sell its products at a price lower than 3? So let's say 2. So let's have 2 here. So the seller will only be willing to sell at 400 units. Whereas the buyer will consume 800 units when the price is only 2. So in this case, QD, quantity demanded, is greater than QS. So you only sell 400, but the buyers or consumers demand for 800 units. So there's a gap again of 400, but this time it's not a surplus. It's what? Shortage. Now, during this pandemic, what happens to the supply of, what happens to the price of face mask, face shield, what else? Alcohol, those products related to medical, okay, because of the pandemic. So what happened? The price increases because in the short run, there was only low supply and the demand was so high. Did you get me? Alright, so this is now the market equilibrium. This is how the price is determined in the market. And everywhere you go, the interaction between the supply and demand will always be there. Okay? So when you can explain scarcity, you can link the one to supply and demand. If you go to Forex, foreign exchange, still supply and demand. If you invest in the stock market, still supply and demand. And also, of course, you have the psychology. So we have another field, sub-field of economics, we call it behavioral economics, where it includes psychology in economics. Because people make decisions based on certain beliefs. So that's on the psychology of man.